Day 1. Test yourself. You are going to hear some facts and figures about Australia. First, you have some time to read questions 1 through 10. Now, listen carefully and answer questions 1 through 10.
Welcome to this talk about Australia. I'm going to give you some key facts and figures about the country, which I hope you'll find of interest. First, let's start with geography. Where is Australia? Australia is in Oceania, between the Indian Ocean and the South Pacific Ocean. Australia is ranked as a continent. It's the smallest continent, having an area of 7.6 million square kilometers. Of that, 68,920 square kilometers is water, so in land area, Australia is slightly smaller than the U.S. In fact, Australia is the world's 6th largest country. As a very large island, Australia's climate is generally dry, that is, arid to semi-arid, temperate in the south and east, tropical in the north. The terrain, that's the type of land surface, is mostly low plateau with deserts, and fertile plain in the southeast. The lowest point in Australia is Lake Eyre at -15 meters. The highest point is Mount Kosciuszko, that's spelt Kosciuszko, at 2,229 meters. Australia is rich in natural resources. Among the chief are bauxite, coal, iron ore, copper, tin, silver, and nickel. You may have heard of the Australian gold rush, and some gold is still exported. We have several environmental issues here in Australia. The top one is soil erosion. The main reasons for soil erosion are firstly, overgrazing, secondly, industrial development, and thirdly, urbanization, the growth of cities. Another issue is the rising amount of salt in our soils. This comes from using poor quality water. Desertification, the growth of the desert, is another problem. In addition, clearing land for agricultural purposes threatens the natural habitat of many unique animal and plant species. Then also the Great Barrier Reef off the northeast coast, which is the largest coral reef in the world, is threatened by increased shipping and by its popularity as a tourist site. The second section of this talk is about Australia's population. We Australians are concentrated along the eastern and southeastern coasts. So how many Australians are there? Well, as of July 1997, there were an estimated 18.4 million. Of these, 66% were aged between 15 and 64 years. Life expectancy at birth is 79 years, 76 years for men and 82 for women. Now, I should tell you that the country of Australia is made up of 6 states and 2 territories. These are the Australian Capital Territory, New South Wales, the Northern Territory, Queensland, South Australia, Tasmania, Victoria, and Western Australia. The national capital is Canberra. Right, let's turn to the Australian economy. Australia has a prosperous Western-style capitalist economy. Australia is a major exporter of agricultural products, minerals, metals, and fossil fuels. Commodity prices have a big impact on the economy. Australia suffered from the low growth and high unemployment typical of the OECD countries in the early 1990s, but the economy has expanded at reasonably steady rates in recent years. In addition to high unemployment, short-term economic problems include how to balance output and inflation and how to stimulate exports. The economy is made up like this: agriculture, 3.1%, industry, 27.7%, services, 69.2%. The labor force has a similar pattern. The total labor force is 8.2 million. 34% work in finance and services, 23% work in public and community services, 20% work in the wholesale and retail trade, 17% work in manufacturing and industry, and 6% work in agriculture. What are the chief industries of Australia? They are mining, industrial, and transport equipment, food processing, chemicals, and steel. What are Australia's main agricultural products? They are wheat, barley, sugarcane, fruit, cattle, sheep, and poultry. And who do we sell our products to? At present, our chief export market is Japan, which takes 24% of our exports. After that, South Korea takes 8%, and New Zealand and the U.S. each take 7%. In years to come, however, we expect China to become a significant trade partner. China already supplies 5% of Australia's imports. This is the same amount as New Zealand. Meanwhile, we take 1/5, in fact 22% of our imports from the U.S., 17% from Japan, and 6% from the UK. So what sort of things does Australia import? Well, we import a lot of machinery and transport equipment, especially computers and office machines, also telecommunications equipment, and in addition we have to import oil and petroleum products. So let's move to the subject of communications in Australia. We have an estimated 8.7 million telephones and 9.2 million televisions. There are some 134 television broadcast stations and 325 radio stations. The related subject of transport is naturally very important in such a big country as Australia. Let's look at highways first. There are two kinds of highways, paved and unpaved. Paved highways are regular roads with a permanent surface. But actually, we have more unpaved highways, around 60%, than paved, when all the country roads are included. In addition, Australia has a railway network of over 38,000 kilometers. But you'll probably find it hard to believe how many airports we've got. 10? 20? 50? No, the total is 443. Of course, this includes many short runways on farms and in the outback. There are only 9 airports with runways of more than 3,000 meters.